Yo, what is happening, everybody? Welcome into the live stream. How we doing tonight? We got some news coming through right as I'm kicking this thing off, as always. Apparently, James Harden might be heading over to the Philadelphia 76ers, so that's fun. I see that in the chat. I don't know what's going on here. So James Harden might be headed over to the Sixers, I guess. Zach LaVine just got ruled out, though. That's a big piece of news, obviously. That's going to give a big bump up to a DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic. They're going to become much more interesting options for us tonight. That's some other news we're waiting on. We got John Collins, Gordon Hayward, Josh Hart, Seth Curry, Larry Nance, Hassan Whiteside. Goga was just ruled out as well, so that's going to give a bump up to Isaiah Jackson. So we'll talk about that as we go along here, guys. If you enjoy the stream, hit that like button. Looks like we got 5 likes already, so I appreciate you guys filing in, hitting that like button. And we're going to break this thing down game by game on DraftKings. Then we'll head over to FanDuel. Try to make it a little bit more timely. I feel like I've been spending a lot of time on DraftKings and then kind of dwindling really short on FanDuel, which is kind of fine because I talk about the slate overall and then we just talk about some pricing discrepancies, but I just want to make sure I'm getting to all the questions for both websites. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit more time efficient here. But Sean, AGT, Joseph, how you doing tonight? Patrick, hello. Welcome into the chat, guys. And yeah, man, we got some craziness going on, I guess, huh? Harden? That was the first I saw that. I saw that James Harden was ruled out. I've been working on some other stuff all day, so I didn't get the report on that, I guess. So he's expected to maybe head on over to Philadelphia, I guess. That's interesting. So maybe it's going to be the Harden and Embiid combo, which would be fun. But anyways, guys, let's get into the program, guys. If you haven't heard of PrizePicks is the sponsor of the channel. Head over there and sign up using the promo code KJK DFS, and you'll receive a 100% match deposit up to $100 if you're interested in that. I've been giving out picks on that daily on the channel. And with all that being said, let's talk about this slate. So Cleveland taking on Charlotte is the first game on this slate. There's no Darius Garland. Gordon Hayward listed as questionable. This game's not exactly... He's going to make his return as the latest report. Okay, so Gordon Hayward's expected to be in here. This game's really not the biggest piece of interest for us on the slate overall. Comes in right now with a 217 over-under, not exactly the fastest-paced game. And really, I'm not too intrigued to be targeting the Charlotte Hornets side of things, but I do think targeting some Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen on the Cleveland side is pretty interesting. Pace-up option for both of those guys. Cleveland's still dealing with a lot of injuries, so I think the usage and upside for these guys is going to be a lot higher than you would typically see. We saw Evan Mobley go out there and put up 48 DraftKings points last time out against the Houston squad. That's also, one of the best matchups in the league. And if that's going to be the case, that kind of upside, obviously that's going to make us very intrigued to be targeting some. Evan Mobley's the first guy we're looking to. Jared Allen's the other guy, second on the list that I'd certainly be going to. He's been dealing with some foul trouble. He's had some rough couple games the last few times out, but we know the kind of upside that this guy can have when he gets it going. So I'd still be willing to target some Jared Allen in this one for sure. And Chetty Osman at 5'4" actually grades out as a respectable play for me as well. And you also have Brandon Goodwin all the way down to 4'1", who's been getting these starts at the point guard position now. So these guys all grading out decently. Actually, Brandon Goodwin at 4'1" is my biggest piece of interest in this game, believe it or not. Not exactly a guy you would think we'd be talking about, but, I mean, he's grading out as a great play in my projection model at only a 4'1" price tag on the season. He's putting up 0.96 DK points per minute. I've got him projected to play right around 29 minutes in this one. So he's a pretty great play here. And a lot of people probably wouldn't be thinking about going to him at the top of your brain, but he's becoming something, and you factor in the price tag in the matchup, he's going to be a thing on this slate tonight. So I do think Brandon Goodwin at a 4'1" price tag is a good play. And then, like I said, I do think Chetty Osman as well at a 5'4" price tag grades as a decent play. He's putting up 0.86 DK points per minute. I've got him projected to play 34, so the minutes are there. And the fantasy production has actually been way up, so... don't sleep on those two guys, Goodwin and Chetty Osman, but really my main two pieces of interest are the Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I mean, I guess I should say my biggest piece of interest is Brandon Goodwin. Let me just correct myself. But from a strict upside and raw scoring aspect, those two pay-up options. But Goodwin's grading out as, one of the top value plays on the slate, honestly, at a 4'1" price tag. So don't sleep on him. Running back on the other side, Charlotte, honestly, not too interested. We have LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, all in a pace down spot. And now we're getting Gordon Hayward back. That's going to cut down Kelly Oubre. We have PJ Washington in the equation, Mason Plumlee in the equation. None of these guys really looking like too great a place for me, to be honest with you. So that's about it for me on this side. In this game overall. Boston taking on Detroit. This game right now comes in with a total of a 214 over-under. It's a 10-point spread in favor of Boston, which is a little bit scary. Not exactly expected to stay close. The Pistons side is very short-handed, so if you want to target some of those guys, have at it. But overall, this game's looking pretty ugly. I mean, Cade Cunningham being out obviously is a big piece of news. Looking at my projections as far as, some of the top guys that I would be prioritizing. Once again, Kelly Olynyk looking like a decent play in my projections. He just keeps popping just because of his permanent production. I mean, 1.22 DK points per minute. Only got him projected to play 23 minutes, and he's still grading out as like a decent value for me in my projections every single night. It's kind of scary. I just keep bringing up his name. But then you look at his last couple times out, the minutes have been down to 15 and 17, so I'm just going to be ignoring that. And my projections just seem to love some Kelly Olynyk, so I'm not going to go with that too much. Stan says, are you on Irving now that Harden's out? Yeah, absolutely. I like Irving a lot. Base smash last game, not a 10K. Yeah, I mean, I think that, Jeremiah Grant, Sadiq Bey, and Hamidou Diallo were the three main beneficiaries of there being no Cade Cunningham. So Sadiq Bey, Jeremiah Grant, and Hamidou Diallo at a 4-3 price tag. Even though Diallo is not getting the minutes is the thing, though. So while I would love to play this guy has like 50-plus fantasy point upside anytime he gets the minutes. He's just not getting the minutes right now. So you got to kind of lean towards a Corey Joseph, who's playing 30-plus minutes a game, but isn't exactly the best fantasy point producer. So for me, mainly looking to load up on some Bay, some Jeremiah Grant in this game. But even then, if they get blown out, probably just becomes everyone plays their fair share of minutes. And honestly, it's looking pretty likely that this game turns into a blowout right now. Comes in with a 214 over-under. Like I said, 10-point spread in favor of Boston. Detroit's really short-handed, so I'm a little bit scared to go to anyone in this game. Overall, as far as on the other side for Boston, I'd be looking to go to the cheaper guys. So Marcus Smart's someone that kind of stands out to me at 5'7". Seeing him play a lot of point guard minutes. The assist upside's been really good as of late. And the fact of the matter is he's priced in the mid-5K range, and he's playing, 33 to anywhere up to upper 30s in minutes when the game does stay close. So he'd be my favorite one there. But overall, I'm a little bit scared to be going up for the pay-up options. I would definitely prefer Jaylen Brown over Jason Tatum. I sound like a broken record, but I say it every time. You just get a nice discount on Jaylen Brown over Tatum. And I think that Jaylen Brown's price tag and its upside's, very similar on games, especially with the threat of the blowout. I think there's a possibility that Jaylen Brown could actually get you there, whereas if you're going up to a Jason Tatum, he could have a pretty great first half, and if the game turned into a blowout, still not get you there at his price tag. So for me, that would kind of be the approach there. You're going to take a look to Al Horford at 5'3". He's finally seen his minutes ramp back up. He was playing some really, low minutes for quite some time there. Last 2 games, he's played 32 and 33 minutes, so he's actually grading out as a great play for me at 5'3". And then lastly, Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson had a really big game the other night at 3'7". He's definitely a little bit of a riskier option, but if this game turns into a blowout, played 31 minutes, put up 33 DraftKings points. It's just one of those plays where I'd be willing to take a few shots in tournaments. Don't get me wrong. He's not like a top priority for me on this slate tonight, but just someone that I have to mention. AJT says, do we think Kyrie can hit over 27.5 real-life points with Harden being out? Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like with the way Brooklyn's heading, it's going to turn into the Kyrie show pretty quickly because Harden's probably going to be out of town, it sounds like. So Kyrie's probably going to just start shooting 20 times a game, 30 times a game, and going Kobe Bryant mode. So I'm certainly willing to get quite a bit of exposure to Kyrie, and I certainly think he can drop 30-plus points tonight. Chicago taking on Indiana is going to be the next game. We just did get that big piece of news that there is going to be no Zach LaVine in this one. Obviously, that's very relevant. The guy soaks up a lot of usage. Kobe White's still a game-time decision. If he's out, Malcolm Hill, Matt Thomas, Troy Brown going to get more minutes. But for the time being, the 2 guys we know we can really hone in are DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic. These guys become 2 of the top priorities on the slate for me tonight. They're going to soak up all of that usage in a very fast up-tempo game. It's a 230 over-under. So that's huge. Let's see, refresh this odds page because I'm sure the lines have changed. But no, it doesn't look like they have. Still 230 over-under. 2-point spread in favor of Chicago. And DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic are both just going to be smash plays tonight. So I would highly recommend getting a lot of exposure to them. It's kind of a no-brainer for me. Definitely going to those 2 guys. If Kobe White is in, I like him quite a bit as well. At only a 5.9 price tag. So we need confirmation on that. But the 2 no-brainers for me are going to be DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic. Anyone else on this side that I'm going to be looking to really relies on that Kobe White news, but for the most part, that's really what we're looking at. Domantas Sabonis is out. We also got confirmation that there's no Goga Batazzi, and there's no Isaiah Jackson as well. So where that leads this Indiana starting lineup is going to be interesting. Terry Taylor might get the start at center, but OJ Brissett is probably going to be the one that gets the main beneficiary here. And I believe I just did see he is ruled in, 4K. So I think OJ Brissett becomes a pretty fairly decently option here. On the season, pulling up the Indiana Pacers per minute production as far as how he's concerned, and looking at how he's fared on the season. On a per minute basis here, for all these guys, but especially with all these injuries, OJ Brissett right now putting up 0.77 DK points per minute on the season. And keep in mind, that's with all these guys on the floor. So I do think he's a pretty interesting option at a 4K price tag. I'd certainly be willing to go to him. But also, just keep your eyes on this Indiana starting lineup, because we don't exactly have confirmation it's going to be him, but most likely will be. And speaking of value, I mean, the Indiana side, all these guys are really cheap. All the usage is going to be flowing through them. Chris Duarte, Torrey Craig, OJ Brissett, Jamie Lamb off the bench. All these guys are going to be viable plays that you should be mixing and blending in your lineups, and definitely going to be popping in projections tonight, because, I mean, you can only take so many guys off the court before these guys are going to have to play more minutes. And with all of these injuries, it's looking pretty good for these guys tonight. So certainly would be willing to be loading up on some Indiana starters. Running it back with DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic makes a lot of sense to me. And that's going to be kind of how I'm approaching this game. Obviously, Karis LeVert's going to be the top usage guy. He's put up 37 and 45 DraftKings points his last 2 times out. So loading up on some Karis LeVert, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic tonight certainly do think is a smart approach, but don't sleep on Chris Duarte at 5'4" as well. I think the discount on him, he has not had a big game in quite some time. I think it's just a matter of time before he does. You know, this guy's definitely capable of going out there and putting up 40-plus DraftKings points. Just hasn't been shooting the ball very poorly. 3 for 11, 3 for 11, 5 for 11. It's just a matter of time before he gets hot. And in this fast up-tempo game, 230 over-under now could be the time to hop on the Duarte train. So if you want to go there, certainly think it makes a lot of sense. Atlanta taking on Toronto. The next game on the slate, Trae Young is going to be back in this one. We have John Collins listed as questionable, which is obviously pretty big if he is indeed out. We could be taking a harder look to a Clint Capella tonight at a 6-1 price tag. His minutes have been really capped at like 25 minutes per game. Maybe they give him more run. I don't know. It's a little bit scary. I don't really understand why he's still limited. Maybe they just don't like running him out there big minutes. That kind of seems to be the case, because he shouldn't be limited at this point. But on the Atlanta side, if John Collins is out, really for me, that's just going to give a bump up to a Bogdanovich, Kevin Huerter, and a DeAndre Hunter. These guys in this mid-range that are actually playing minutes and producing at pretty high rates, specifically Kevin Huerter. I mean, he's been playing like 37, 39 minutes a game at only a 4 or 5 price tag. That's huge. So I'm certainly willing to jump all over that. Great three-point shooter. And the same can be said for Bogdanovich, playing mid-30s, upper 30s a game, 5K. That's just too cheap for me. And the upside's definitely there, so I'm willing to go to those guys. And then if there's no John Collins, I do think that gives a pretty decent bump up to a Trae Young's usage as well. So loading up on some Trae Young, Bogdanovich, and Kevin Huerter would be my approach here. As far as the game environment, comes in with a 217.5 over-under. It's a 3-point spread in favor of the Toronto Raptors, so expected to stay close. That obviously is going to help our case. But yeah, those are going to be my favorite guys: Hunter, Huerter, Trae Young, Bogdanovich. And then running it back on the Toronto side, as far as who I'm looking to in this one, it's pretty simple. You're just looking to mix and match these starters. My favorite's going to be Fred VanVleet at this price tag. 8.6 is just really friendly for him. The guy's got 50-plus fantasy point upside every time he takes the floor. He gets to take on a Trae Young matchup, and Trae Young is not one of the best defenders in the league. So I do think that's a really great place to be going here. On this slate tonight, sorry guys, throat's getting a little dry. So I like Fred VanVleet. And really all these Toronto guys that get minutes are going to be viable. Pascal Siakam, once again, great matchup taking on this team. Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, they just are a little bit negatively correlated, so you kind of have to limit your exposure a little bit. But the fact of the matter is all these guys can have decent games. Just be correlating based on price tag. So Gary Trent, Scotty Barnes, some of the cheaper options. We finally saw Gary Trent have a bad shooting night. I said it. I was saying it all yesterday or all day. It's like this guy's got to have a bad night eventually. He's just getting way too much attention. And he scored 30-plus points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row. So that is awesome. Like, hats off to him. That's very impressive stuff. But I just had a feeling it was coming. And it finally came. So If people are going to be off him, I'm certainly willing to go back to him. Last night I wanted to fade because I just thought that there was a lot of traction going to be going there just because of his recent performances. But if there's going to be no interest in him tonight, certainly wouldn't be the one to talk you off him. Once again, just keep in mind, all these Toronto guys are kind of correlated based upon their price tags. They're all going to play a lot of minutes. We know that. They all are good fantasy point producers. But the fact of the matter is, only one guy can assist, only one guy can rebound, and only one guy can score for every play. So if you're paying up for, both Siakam and Van Vliet, I'd recommend fading the pay down options. If you're paying up for either a Van Vliet or a Siakam, one of those guys go down to an OG Anunoby or a Scotty Barnes. I wouldn't play both of them. That's got to be your approach with the Toronto guys. They're all going to be viable every night. It's a little bit unpredictable as to where the most usage is going outside of we know the pay up options. Siakam and Van Vliet are going to take a lot on. But long story short, that should be your approach when targeting Toronto guys. Houston taking on, Chris says, I like Terry Taylor on Indiana. Yeah, man, he's expected to get a lot more minutes, and he is really cheap. So I definitely don't hate that play. He's all the way down to 4-2. As far as his recent performance, 37 minutes, he put up 52 DraftKings points. So if that doesn't tell you that this guy has fantasy point upside, I don't know what will. And we did get confirmation that there's no Goga, there's no Sabonis. So yeah, loading up on some Terry Taylor makes plenty of sense to me. I think it's kind of more of an obvious play, but absolutely, he's good. He's a good play. He's taking on the San Antonio Spurs. Next game on the slate. This game's the highest slate total on the slate. Comes in with a 237.5 over under. Going to be extremely fast paced, so obviously we're going to be wanting to load up on it. And the Spurs are getting DeJounte Murray back, Jakob Poeltl back. Those are my top two guys. I think it kind of goes without even saying. These guys have the highest upside. They get a tremendous matchup taking on Houston. They're going to be priorities for us tonight. Derek White and Keldon Johnson do take hits with these two guys returning, so they're a little bit less intriguing to me. They also have seen their price tags come up, but they're still definitely playable. I would recommend only playing one of these guys per lineup. I think they are pretty negatively correlated, so I wouldn't suggest playing unless you're fading DeJounte Murray and Jakob Poeltl. Then you can play both of these guys, but even then, I think that's a little bit dicey. I don't know if I would recommend that, but you can do that if you want to. Doug McDermott's expected to be back. There's no Lonnie Walker after him being ruled out, so Doug McDermott at 4-3. Dougie Bucket's always capable of getting hot from the field and putting up a big score for you. Definitely a tournament play, very scoring reliant. But I wouldn't call you crazy if you want to go to him. And then running it back on the other side for me, Christian Wood, going to be a phenomenal play at 8-7. Still priced very reasonably for a guy that has 50, 60 DraftKings points upside every single time. He's not in the 9K range or anything like that, so that makes me pretty happy to be going there. And Kevin Porter Jr. is the second guy that I'm really looking to target on Houston. And then outside of that, honestly, it's a little bit dicey when it comes to Houston. You could play a Jae'Sean Tate at 5-1, but we've seen his minutes somewhat fluctuate. I don't hate it. Eric Gordon, same thing for him at 4-3. Once again, I mean, this guy's playing like 30, 35 minutes a game. He's only put up 15, 18 DraftKings points the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You would think it's just a matter of time before it's an Eric Gordon game. This guy is capable of going out there and knocking down 10 threes on any given night. So I definitely don't mind going to some Eric Gordon in tournaments. It's a little bit risky, but I mean, that could win you a tournament very easily at only a 4-3 price tag. I do like Eric Gordon. That'd be the limit of my interest from Houston. Jalen Green, he's just not the best fantasy point producer, although we have seen him have some big games, so he's kind of similar to the Eric Gordon that we just talked about. Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent Jr. will play Friday. I didn't think that was in any question, but that just came through for an alert, so that's good. We just talked about that game. So that's all confirmed. And yeah, Jalen Green's another tournament option, but for me, it's mostly Kevin Porter Jr. and mostly Christian Wood. Christian Wood's definitely the best option. I mean, he's the most expensive, so not that that's a hot take or anything, but just the fact of the matter is he should be your top priority from the Houston side. If the game's going to stay close, there's a high likelihood that it stays close because Christian Wood has a big game here, so I do like him. New Orleans Pelicans taking on the Denver Nuggets. This game right now comes in with a pretty nice total, 224 over under, 6-point spread in favor of Denver. As far as the latest injury report, we're waiting on some Josh Hart news. He's listed as questionable. If he's out, Brandon Ingram going to get more usage. Jonas Valanciunas going to get more usage. Both those guys going to be great plays, as is JV's always looking good in my projection model, but he just hasn't been having big upside games as of late. He's really consistent. He'll go up there, put you 35, 40 DraftKings points. Just hasn't had that big game. Maybe this is the one where he finally breaks out and has one of those big games that we're accustomed to seeing him have. But I definitely have a lot more interest in Brandon Ingram at an 8-2 price tag is what I'm trying to get at here. I just think with the pricing discount and the usage, he probably has more of a chance of getting you there with just the way this Pelicans team has been as of late. But if Josh Hart's out, it certainly helps both of those guys' cases. But most notably, Devontae Graham at 5-4, I think looks like a pretty great play to me here. for the upside at his price tag. That's a really cheap price tag. Looking at my projection model, he's looking like pretty friendly play. So I'm going to some Devontae Graham. It certainly does make quite a bit of sense to me in my tournament lineups tonight. And yeah, Eric Gordon and Jalen Green look like pretty great guys to be going to in your tournaments. I already kind of talked about that, but I just pulled this back up. From a pure upside aspect, Jayshawn Tate we talked about in that game. Then Devontae Graham sitting there right along Jayshawn Tate for upside at his price tag at only a 5.4. So I do like him quite a bit here at this 5.4 price tag for your tournaments. I'm always looking to capitalize on guys. I mean, he hasn't had the biggest game, 14, 29, 18. You know, the recent performances hasn't been very good. So for that reason, there might be a lot of ownership going down towards him, and I'd be willing to take the risk on tournaments. He gets a good matchup in a fast up-tempo game. And then running it back on the other side, I mean, I think this is a tremendous option for Nikola Jokic, best fantasy point per minute producer in the league at a 12.4 price tag, taking on a New Orleans Pelicans team that is just not really strong defensively. Looking at my defensive half-court and putbacks tool for the New Orleans Pelicans, they grade out as the 23rd best team in the league in points per possession rank, 29th in half-court points per play allowed. So just really not doing a stellar job of slowing down offense. And we know Nikola Jokic contributes in all categories. He'll score, he'll get you assists, he'll get you blocks, steals. He does it all. So paying up for Nikola Jokic certainly makes a ton of options for me. And then the secondary options in Will Barton and Aaron Gordon certainly don't hate you going to. Will Barton's been tremendous as of late. 6K price tag. Would definitely be willing to get some exposure to him in a fast up-tempo game. Same can be said for Aaron Gordon. This guy's going to be a little bit inconsistent at times, but the upside's always going to be there. So just keep in mind, kind of tournament-like plays. But Michael Porter Jr. continues to be out, so I'm willing to continue to take risks. And then followed up by Monty Morris at 4.9. I do think he's a relatively great play as well. So those Denver mid-range guys look pretty good if this game can just stay close. I mean, I like Nikola Jokic a lot, but Monty Morris, Aaron Gordon, Will Barton all looking like some pretty decent plays here. And then running it back on the other side, like I said, Brandon Ingram and Jonas Valanciunas, if there is no Josh Hart. I really think if this game stays close, it's most likely because Brandon Ingram has a big game. So for me, if I'm getting exposure to the Denver side, from a correlation aspect, I do think it makes sense to be loading up on some Brandon Ingram on the other side. So I do think he's going to be the main candidate to keep this thing close. So that'd be my approach there. The last 3 games on the slate, we got Brooklyn taking on Utah. And this one, James Harden was listed as out. So that's obviously going to make us have a tremendous amount of interest in a Kyrie Irving. We're also going to see more minutes and usage for Cam Thomas, a Bruce Brown, DeAndre Bembry. So keep that in mind. But I mean, Kyrie Irving skyrockets to the top of the list for usage. He's priced all the way up to 10.3 on DraftKings, which is kind of crazy. But luckily for us, I guess the good news is the price tag's kind of appropriate now for the role. So, I mean, this price tag, if Harden was in, was looking a little bit scary to me. But now that Harden's out, he's worth taking some shots on a tournament. If his ownership is going to be really high, I mean, I don't hate fading him just based upon the upside at the price tag, concept. Like, he's 10.3, maybe just going to a DeJounte Murray at 10.5, pivoting off him, would make quite a bit of sense. I do really like him to put up some statistics here. It's just a matter of the price tag. So, and then we look at the overall Vegas lines. The game still expected to stay close. I was a little bit worried about that. It's a 5.5 point spread in favor of Utah. That's really not too bad considering Harden's out. The line didn't shift too much there, so I'm still having pretty some decent confidence that this game stays close based upon what Vegas is telling us. So yeah, Kyrie Irving definitely going to make a lot of sense. I think Patty Mills at 5.6 has a lot of upside. Very scoring reliant, but the fact of the matter is I think he's going to shoot a lot tonight, and I think he can get some buckets against this Utah Jazz defense, so I do like Patty Mills. And then going down to some other guys, like I said, taking some shots on a Cam Thomas at 3.5 certainly does make some sense in your tournament lineups. It's always a little bit dicey with this Brooklyn rotation. My biggest piece of advice would be to keep your eyes on the starting lineup because in these situations, Nash has rolled out a starting lineup, and typically whoever cracks that starting lineup is indeed the ones that are getting the most run. So, DeAndre Bembry, Kessler Edwards, if they're in the starting lineup. But if we see like a Bruce Brown or a Cam Thomas crack the starting lineup, then they get a big bump. So just keep your eyes on that starting lineup, guys. That is, pretty huge when it comes to determining who's going to get the minutes here. Unfortunately, we won't have that starting lineup, until after lock. Game starts at 9 o'clock. But if you can give yourself some flexibility in your lineups, if at all possible, to adjust to that news, I would highly encourage you to do so because I do think that's pretty relevant here for who we're looking to target on the Brooklyn side. But we do know, in my opinion, Kessler Edwards is going to start no matter what. And we do know Nicholas Claxton is going to start no matter what is my anticipation, and Kyrie Irving. So those 3 guys. And then Patty Mills. Patty Mills is definitely going to start. But Nick Claxton at 4.9 is really going to get a bump up here. My concern is the matchup. He has to take on a Utah team that's really good defensively, but it's a lot less of a concern for me because Rudy Gobert's out. I'm sorry. So typically I would be telling you like I'm really scared to play some Nicholas Claxton, but I got to be honest with you, I'm pretty confident in loading him up tonight because the Utah Jazz still dealing with no Rudy Gobert. That's really relevant. Whether it's Royce O'Neal, Hassan Whiteside, all that stuff, I really don't care. It's not going to be nearly the presence down low as a Rudy Gobert would be. So for me, Nicholas Claxton really going to be a great play, and we get a lucky break because there's no Rudy Gobert. So I like Nick Claxton. You know, the Nick Claxton, Kyrie Irving pick and roll combination is probably going to be a common theme tonight. So certainly willing to go to both of those guys. Running back on the other side with Utah, it is expected to be a pretty fast up-tempo game. For me, when Donovan Mitchell comes back, he really soaks up so much usage that it makes everyone else look not too good. And Donovan Mitchell's price tag has come all the way down from 9K to 8.4. So for me, it's going to be Donovan Mitchell by a mile as far as my top play on the Utah side, even though we have some discounts to Mike Conley and Bogdanovich. These guys' price tags have been adjusted for games where there is no Donovan Mitchell. So for me, those guys decent plays, but Donovan Mitchell definitely my top priority. Followed up by Conley and Bogdanovich next. And then Jordan Clarkson listed as questionable, though. If he's indeed back, that's going to cut into those guys' usage more. If he's out, they do get a bump up. So then I'd be willing to get a little bit more exposure there. And the Hassan Whiteside news we're waiting on as well. So some pretty big news on Utah, to be honest with you. We kind of need this confirmation. Same thing with Rudy Gay. He's listed as questionable in this one. So if Rudy Gay is indeed out, once again, Bogdanovich and Conley become much more priorities for me versus if those guys are in. So we really need that confirmation on that news. Once we get it, we'll have more of an idea. Once again, starts at 9 o'clock, so we won't know before lock. But if you could leave yourself some flexibility to adjust to that and do some late swapping, you could have an edge on the field. So I don't mind that. Seth Curry listed as questionable in this Philadelphia-Dallas game. Definitely a big piece of news if he's out. Tyrese Maxey should get a big bump up, as well as a Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris has been a guy that traditionally, whenever Seth Curry is out, actually really gets a nice climb in his usage. So I do think that's pretty relevant here. And something that I would really want to be keeping my eyes on. So in this game, as far as my interest is 210.5 over under. It's really not the fastest paced game. And both of these teams are really dominated by two guys. It's Luka Doncic and Joel Embiid. So paying up for those two guys makes a decent amount of sense for me. It's a nationally televised game. I think even in a slow-paced game, they can both get you there. If you have the value, which we do have quite a bit of value on this slate that we've talked about as we're going along here. So I don't hate paying up for an Embiid, a Luka Doncic. Outside of that, honestly, this game, like I said, Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey become much more relevant for me if there is indeed no Seth Curry. So just keep your eyes on that news, guys. That's obviously big. As far as anyone else on the Dallas side, I mean, Jalen Brunson's the second option for Luka Doncic. It's really that simple. It's Luka Doncic. It's Jalen Brunson for me. Anyone else, I'm not too intrigued to be going to be honest with you. The game, just the pace isn't there. And overall, I mean, the one guy I would say is Dorian Finney-Smith. We just know Dorian Finney-Smith plays so many minutes, and he's 4'6", so he's cheap enough to where it's, reasonable to be going to him in tournaments. But he's someone you want to be throwing in your lineups just because of the minutes. And once in a blue moon, he'll have, a nice game where he puts up 40, 50 DraftKings points. So I don't want to rule him out. Just don't be, expecting that out of him. He's not the best fantasy point producer in the league. So last game on the slate, we got Oklahoma City taking on Portland. Portland just traded away Norman Powell, Robert Covington. They are both out of there. So that's obviously a huge piece of news. And this last game is going to be one that I have quite a bit of interest in. CJ McCollum, Yusuf Nurkic, and Anthony Simmons are three guys that I will want to be loading up on tonight. They're going to be taking on all the usage and responsibility now with these guys being gone. And their price tags have not been adjusted for it because, these guys just got traded today. So take advantage while you can. Anthony Simmons at 6'6", very friendly price tag. I'm going to have a lot of interest in him. CJ McCollum, Yusuf Nurkic at 8'3", 8'2", lots of interest in them. And the fact of the matter is they're taking on an Oklahoma City squad that doesn't scare us defensively, and then running it back on the other side, there's no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So I'm going to be having a lot of interest in going with a Lou Dort and a Josh Giddey. So those five guys in this game really do make a lot of sense to be loading up in your tournament lineups. I think it's kind of obvious. But for me, I'm going to gladly be loading up on some Lou Dort, some Josh Giddey, some Yusuf Nurkic, some CJ McCollum, some Anthony Simmons. And Larry Nance Jr. is listed as questionable if he is indeed ruled out. That's going to be even more minutes to go around to the Portland rotation for guys like a Ben McLemore. Tony Snell, I think, plays a lot of minutes in this game, most likely. Right now, he's projected to start for this team. So I think he plays, quite a few minutes. And then we see Trendon Watford, CJ Elleby, all those guys kind of mix and blend in off the bench. Those guys are all kind of around minimum salary, too. So taking some risks on a Ben McLemore, a Dennis Smith, a CJ Elleby, and just kind of trying to get ahead of the curve for who's going to be getting the biggest bump up in the rotation with these guys being gone. I don't hate. It's a little bit tough to predict. I would say Dennis Smith is the least one of, least of my favorites out of the options, just because I think he's kind of stuck behind McCollum and Anthony Simmons no matter what. But Ben McLemore can play a little bit more of the 2 and 3 guard, so I think he might be able to get a climb in minutes. And then CJ Elleby is also another guy that might be a little bit sneaky in tournaments that people might not be considering. He's only minimum salary. He's listed as probable. Pretty good fantasy point producer, too. So at a minimum salary, CJ Elleby, I don't know if people are talking about him across the industry. They might be. But for me, I'd be willing to take some risks, hoping that he gets a lot of minutes. And if he does, that could pay off for you in your tournament lineup. It's pretty huge here. The other guy you got to be looking to is a Trey Mann at 4-2 on the Oklahoma City side. He's grading out as a pretty decent play for me right here. He's been playing around 30 minutes. He's putting up 0.73 DraftKings points per minute. So going to some Trey Mann certainly does make some sense for me on this slate tonight. We saw him put up 39 DraftKings points last time out. Maybe he can make a repeat performance. And if he goes out there and puts up 39 DraftKings points for you at a 4-2 price tag, you are going to be very, very happy with that. Not to mention, he gets one of the best matchups you could ask for, taking on a Portland squad here. So I'm certainly willing to go to that. So yeah, guys. That's my game-by-game breakdown on DraftKings. We're going to talk about FanDuel. If you have any questions in the chat, please do ask them. I will gladly answer them. If you're enjoying this stream, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. And if you haven't signed up for PrizePicks, guys, go ahead and do so. Sponsor of the broadcast here. Sign up using that promo code KJK DFS. You'll receive an instant match deposit up to $100 when you sign up on PrizePicks today. And if you haven't checked out my premium content packages, I would highly encourage you to do that as well. I just released the PrizePicks package. I have a KJK DFS PrizePicks package now, NBA combo package, and NBA DFS package. So if you do DraftKings and FanDuel, that's where the NBA package is going to cover you. And we got a problem, guys, and I am not making this up. My mouse just died. Fantastic. All right, well, bear with me, guys. I'm gonna have to get off the stream here for a second and get a charger and charge my mouse, and then we're gonna be stuck on the screen for a second. Great stuff. All right, I will be back with you in one moment. Actually, we got a charger right here. No, we don't, though. We don't have the right block. Sorry, guys. I gotta get out of here for a second. All right, dude. I love the idea of the Magic Mouse from Mac. It's nice, it's wireless, all that stuff's fun. But man, this thing dies. And I always forget to charge it when I'm, when you're headed to bed at night. You think about charging your phone, not exactly your mouse. So we're good though. I got my alert system here for the Twitter feed. So. I got the news still coming through. We can reflect on some news. I'm going to hang around here with you guys. But this is less than ideal. So let's see. Which two subs would you rather pay up for? Jokic, DeJounte Murray, or Jokic? You mean which stud would I rather pay up for on FanDuel? I would love to pull that up for you, but I can't. As far as the top stud that I would pay up for. Also, let me know if you guys can still hear me. The stream should still be connected, but if you could just let me know in the chat, like, hear me, you're good, that'd be great. I'm assuming everything's good, but which of the two I'd rather pay for DeJounte Murray? Well, it depends upon whether you're going. It depends upon the roster construction. If you're going cheap at center, obviously DeJounte Murray. If you're going cheap at other positions, Jokic, and I would love to kind of go along here and reflect on that as we're going. I'm wondering if I can. I got a laptop over there. I should have grabbed that when I was up. But yeah. Oh, Luka. Okay, Luka, Jokic, or Murray. On a FanDuel, I think I would probably prefer to go with Murray. He gets a lot of blocks and steals. He's in a great matchup taking on the Houston Rockets. So, out of those, if I had to pick one, I'd go with Murray. Do you like Trey Mann or Brandon Goodwin on FanDuel? What are their price tags? I am in a predicament here. Let me see. I'll pull it up on my phone. Goodwin, or I haven't looked at FanDuel pricing yet. I was going to look at that while we're on the stream. I got my projections up on the side here, but the FanDuel. I think this thing should have enough juice to at least give me a little bit of life here. Let's see if I can do this. Yep, okay. So let's just at least pull up the FanDuel screen so we can at least have it on screen. And let's go all salaries. Trey Mann or Brandon Goodwin. I mean, I think you got to go with Goodwin there. I mean, Goodwin's 4.5. I'm just wondering about their positional eligibility. Man is 4.5 as well. Oh, wow, that's okay. That's tough. I mean, if I have to pick one, I'm going to go definitely with Brandon Goodwin. He just has more of a solidified role and more guaranteed minutes because of the Cleveland guys dealing with some injuries right now. So I definitely go with Brandon Goodwin there. And I'm going to be plugging and unplugging my mouse the entire rest of the night to be updating my core plays, my projections. This is going to be fantastic, man. Wow, I wish I would have. I got a message early in the day that my mouse was low, and I'm busy, man. I got my 3 monitors up. I'm working like a crazy man, and I just didn't even think about it. So I came on the stream. My fantastic Magic mouse has died. At this point, I think I should just get a second mouse. It's ridiculous. I mean, I like the feature, but... Alright, guys. If you have any more questions, please do let me know in the chat. If you're enjoying the stream, hit that like button. We got 8 likes right now. Would be greatly appreciated if we can get that up a little bit. Your thoughts on Embiid for FanDuel? Yeah, I think Embiid's a great play tonight. The only problem would be the pace of the game. He is a really great fantasy point per minute producer, though, so that's always, a great case at the center position. He's 11K, though, and Nikola Jokic is only 200 more. So that's going to be a little bit scary for me. And then we also have Nikola Vucevic now, with there being no Zach LaVine. He's going to grade out as a really great play in that fast up-tempo game. So not too sure Embiid's going to be a priority for me. I think I'd much rather be prioritizing Jokic and Vucevic, as well as Jusuf Nurkic as well. Keep in mind, Jusuf Nurkic is 7'6". They just traded off Robert Covington and Norman Powell. I mean, this guy's going to have a big bump up in usage. So, that's 3 centers, in better game environments and bigger bumps up in usage. So from a FanDuel and DraftKings aspect, I don't really like Embiid too much. I did talk about Embiid on my Prize Picks video because I think he's in a good spot to grab some rebounds tonight against a short Dallas Mavericks front court. So I like him on Prize Picks. If you haven't signed up there and you do with my promo code, there's a pick for you. I said it on my video earlier, but I like attacking the over on Embiid rebounds tonight. I think he can pull down, 15 to 20 rebounds in this particular matchup. So, but as far as the salary and stuff on FanDuel, I don't really think it makes too much sense to be going to a Joel Embiid. Do you have a lock tonight? No, I don't. I didn't put out a video earlier because we had a massive slate. My new thing now, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My new thing as of late has been if it's like a 8 to 9 game slate, I just live stream because things change all the time. I put out a Prize Picks video, and then if it's a shorter slate, I'll put out a video and a live stream. It's just like if I made a video this morning and I would have talked about, James Harden and Kyrie Irving get all the usage, and now, James Harden's out. None of that's relevant, and it can be a little bit frustrating. Zach LaVine's out as well now. So, I know everyone likes my Lock of the Night segment, and, it kind of stinks when I can't do that because I know people get pumped for it, and I enjoy doing it too. But I just don't think it's very valuable to be giving you guys a Lock of the Night at, 6 o'clock in the morning. That makes no sense later on. Typically, if it's a smaller slate, then I can give you guys a Lock of the Night. And even if a few pieces of news come out, my Lock of the Night might not be my top play anymore, but he's still a good play. It's not like, it's a foolish play anymore. But I mean, I don't think my lock of the night would have been James Harden earlier in my video, but if it was for some reason, then he gets ruled out. That's just, that really stinks. But typically on the smaller slates, you don't run into quite as much news. So yeah. Flabberrazor says, definitely prefer the live streams, even though I usually can't watch them live. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I mean, give me some feedback on this, guys, but I'm pretty sure, I'm positive, but people are like telling me, what if we can't watch the live stream? The live stream gets posted on my channel immediately after I'm done streaming, so I don't understand why people, say that. You can still watch it. You're not watching it live, you're rewatching it, but you're still getting all of the insight, and you're still hearing all the questions that I answered and all that stuff, so that just always threw me off a little bit. Like, people are like, what if you can't watch the live stream? As soon as I end the live stream at 6:15 p.m. Eastern or 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and it goes up, you could kind of fast forward and try to listen to the key parts or whatever. Like, that's what I would be doing. I remember before I had my YouTube channel, I was still grinding DFS. I would listen to other shows, and I used to get off work at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and locks at 7, and I would be on my phone crunching my lineups. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday. That's why I started mainly in MLB DFS, and I'd be looking at all the rates and everything on my phone, like scrambling. Which NBA DFS is like next to impossible to play if you're playing NBA DFS on a cellular device only and you don't have like a computer. I would highly recommend you limit your you're probably going to want to be a one lineup guy, and it's tough to do that. As far as being on your phone, you can definitely be a one lineup guy though. I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying, like, multi-entry and stuff, that's getting a little crazy on a phone. And I'm actually pretty much a one lineup guy myself. People think I kind of do multi-enter, but that's a different story. I don't want to really promote what I do because it's there's bankroll management stuff that goes into that I don't want to be promoting you guys to do. Anthony Simmons or Rozier. Definitely Anthony Simmons. There's no more Norman Powell or Robert Covington on the Portland Trailblazers. They're going to get a big bump up tonight. So I like Anthony Simmons a lot more than I did, to start today. And I like CJ McCollum a lot more. I'm going to try to kind of elaborate over here on FanDuel now that my mouse is somewhat charged here. Let's see, what do we got for percentage in this bad boy? We got 3%. Oh, man, we're rocking. We're rocking. Don't worry. We're going to have all the projections, core plays, all that stuff updated. Let's see, on FanDuel, let's pull it up on the side monitor here so I can have a little bit more context. Yeah, Anthony Simmons is going to be a pretty great play. I think he has point guard and shooting guard eligibility as well. Yeah, he does. He's only 6'6". That's fantastic. We talked about Lou Dort and Josh Giddey as well in that game. They're very cheap on FanDuel. So getting a lot of exposure to those guys makes a lot of sense to me. Will Barton's only 6'5" on FanDuel. FanDuel always has some really friendly price tag. Being able to load up on these mid-range guys that all have like 40-plus fantasy point upside just makes it really easy on you. Power forward position, Jason Tatum at 9'8". That probably would not be somewhere I'm looking to go. I like Christian Wood and Pascal Siakam quite a bit. Robert Williams at only 7'5" on FanDuel. Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen at the power forward position makes quite a bit of sense. You have the value plays on Indiana. I'm wondering what the price tag is on the value play for Indiana as well. The big fella Taylor. I haven't checked that out yet. Let's see what Taylor's at. He's at 5'5", and he has shooting guard eligibility. Okay, well, that's different. So, yeah, I don't really know if I'd make him too much of a priority on FanDuel specifically. But, yeah, just loading up on these guys that are getting bumps up and usage makes a lot of sense. Fast up-tempo games. DeJounte Murray at 10.5 I certainly like. Kyrie Irving at 9.5, a much friendlier price tag on FanDuel with no James Harden. I talked about liking Donovan Mitchell a lot. At a 8.3 price tag, he makes a lot of sense. Van Vliet at an 8.4 price tag, that's very friendly. Patty Mills at 6'8 is a little bit dicey on FanDuel. He's really scoring reliant, so that's scary. I'd rather go to the cheaper options than Anthony Simmons that we talked about. Jalen Brunson, Marcus Smart, Monty Morris, Devontae Graham. I'd much rather go to all those guys. DeMar DeRozan at 9.6 is going to be a fantastic play on FanDuel now. CJ McCollum at 7.7. Karis LeVert at 7.6. So guys that I'd be looking to, and then those Atlanta guys that are priced kind of in the mid-range, Bogdanovich, I do like. Kevin Huerter So we kind of already covered all this, but just going along here with you guys. And yeah, I mean, I think we did a pretty good job of covering this slate overall. Feeling pretty confident about it. If you have any questions in the chat, please do ask. Jeremiah Grant on the Detroit side is priced very friendly on FanDuel at 6.3. So I'd definitely be willing to go to him. It's just a matter of whether this game stays close. But if you guys have any questions in the chat, please do let me know. I'm going to hang around here for like another minute or so. And if you have any questions, I will gladly answer them if everyone's all good. I'm probably going to bounce out of here. I'm going to update my projections, core plays, all that fun stuff for my Patreon members. And I'm going to be plugging and unplugging my mouse a whole lot. It should be pretty good to go here now. I think I got like 3%, which is good for, usually typically over half an hour. So Fresh says, top mid-range plays on FanDuel. Top mid-range plays. Well, I think we just covered a lot of them, man, to be honest with you. I mean, at the small forward position in the mid-range, Kevin Porter at 6'7", Lou Dort at 6'5", Will Barton at 6'5". Those are 3 guys that'd be going to the mid-range. Bogdanovich, Kevin Huerter. So there's 5 guys at the small forward position, mid-range in the power forward position. Jeremiah Grant at 6'3", Scotty Barnes at 6'2". Would be where I'm looking to go. Nicholas Claxton at 5'6", Al Horford at 5'5". Makes a lot of sense, actually. Claxton and Al Horford both going to grade out as pretty great plays there. On FanDuel. At the center position, quote-unquote mid-range, my favorite play would be Claxton and Horford, like I just talked about. But, I mean, a little bit outside of the mid-range, but I like Yusuf Nurkic a whole lot at 7'6" now, with those guys being gone on the Blazers. Self says, thoughts on Donovan Mitchell on FanDuel? I love Donovan Mitchell on FanDuel. I think it's a great play. Mid-range at the shooting guard position, you're looking at Karis LeVert at 7'6". We kind of just talked about these guys, but Josh Giddey at $6K is just way too cheap, so love Josh Giddey. And then those other guys I talked about, the small forward position as well. Anthony Simmons, Lou Dort, Will Barton. Point guard position in the mid-range, you're looking to go to Kevin Porter, Anthony Simmons, Mike Conley. If there's no Jordan Clarkson, I like a lot more. Marcus Smart at 5'6" is a great play. He's playing a lot of minutes. Devontae Graham. So those would be the top guys I'm looking to on FanDuel in the mid-range. Dort or Grant on FanDuel? That's really tough, man. It depends on whether that Detroit game stays close. I'm going to lean towards going with Dort just strictly based on the fact that he's taking on a Portland Trailblazers squad that's like one of the worst defensively in the league at defending the three-point arc, and they just lost Robert Covington and Norman Powell, which are 2 of their best wing defenders in the league. So, yeah, that's going to be problematic. So, yeah, I like Lou Dort a lot. Trae Young on FanDuel. Yes, I think Trae Young is definitely viable on FanDuel, especially if there's no John Collins. I like him a lot more. All right, guys, so I'm going to bounce out of here. Hopefully you enjoyed this live stream. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you haven't signed up on the sponsor of the program, Prize Picks, go ahead and check it out. I have a Prize Picks premium content package now. I've been giving out picks every day on the stream. Use that promo code KJK DFS when you sign up today to receive an instant match deposit up to $100. And for my premium content members, don't worry. I'm going to be plugging this mouse in for the next 10 minutes. And then after that, we'll be good to go up until lock. We'll be updating all that content. We'll be good to go. This thing's going to be... That was a unique problem on the stream today, so a little bit of humor, I guess. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Wish you all the best of luck tonight, and we'll see you in the next one. Good luck tonight, guys. I am out of here.